Ever feel like you've been playing a part your whole life? Like you followed the rule book for being a good INFJ, the endless empathy, the people-pleasing, the door slams, only to find the rule book was written for a game you never really wanted to play? What if I told you there's another level? A shift so profound it doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are at your very core. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about finally becoming who you were always meant to be. This isn't your typical personality theory chat. We're diving deep into the underground, into the shadow self, into the awakening of the INFJ Sigma. Strap in. This is going to be a ride. So what on earth flips this mysterious switch? It's rarely one single thing. More often, it's a perfect storm. A lifetime of giving until you're empty, only to be met with entitlement. Of seeing the deepest truths in others and having them look right through you. It's that moment when your famous INFJ idealism crashes headfirst into the cold, hard pavement of reality and shatters. But from those shattered pieces, something new is built. Something stronger, more self-contained, and fiercely independent. The Sigma awakening is a rebellion against the external validation that once fueled you. It's the ultimate embrace of your own internal compass, no matter how lonely the path might seem. Let's get into the signs. These aren't just behaviors. They're evidence of a fundamental rewiring. 1. The death of a need to be understood. For the unawakened INFJ, the craving to be truly, deeply understood is an ache in the soul. It's a quest for that one person who will finally see them. This desperate search can lead to oversharing, to trying to mold themselves into what others might understand, and to a profound sense of loneliness when it inevitably fails. The Sigma switch flips this entirely. It's the realization that seeking understanding from others is like trying to explain the color blue to someone who's been blind since birth. They simply don't have the framework to get it. And so, the awakened INFJ stops trying. They give up the ghost. This isn't a bitter surrender. It's a peaceful, almost liberating release. They become a closed book, not out of spite, but out of a serene understanding that their story is written in a language most can't read. The energy once spent begging for a crumb of understanding is now reinvested in themselves. The validation, the mirror they once sought in others' eyes, they now find within. It's the ultimate act of self-containment. 2. Masterful control of empathy, not being controlled by it. Every INFJ knows the curse of the sponge. Walking into a room and being emotionally hijacked by the moods of everyone in it. It's exhausting, overwhelming, and can leave you feeling like you have no emotional skin. You feel everything for everyone all the time. The Sigma awakening brings with it a stunning new skill, the empathy dial. They learn, through sheer force of will and self-preservation, to turn it down or even off at will. It's not that they become cold or unfeeling. The capacity for profound compassion is still there, brighter than ever. But now it's a choice. They can engage with your pain deeply and meaningfully, but they can also observe a room full of emotional chaos from behind a silent, impenetrable glass wall. They gift their empathy strategically to those who deserve it and can handle it with care, rather than bleeding it out indiscriminately for any emotional vampire who happens to wander by. This control is their superpower. It's what keeps them from burning out and allows them to operate in the world without being constantly derailed by its noise. 3. The art of strategic solitude becomes a non-negotiable. All INFJs need alone time. It's a basic function, like charging a battery. But before the awakening, this solitude can be tinged with guilt or a sense of being antisocial. They might apologize for needing to disappear, feeling like it's a personal failing. The Sigma INFJ? They elevate solitude to an art form. It's no longer a recharge. It's a command center. This time alone is where the magic happens. The deep processing, the strategizing, the connecting of cosmic dots. They don't apologize for it. They prioritize it with the ruthless efficiency of a CEO guarding their most valuable resource. This isn't loneliness. It's a chosen kingdom. They understand, on a bone-deep level that their genius, their clarity, and their peace are forged in these quiet moments. Anyone or anything that threatens this sacred space is met with quiet, unyielding boundaries. They've learned that to give anything to the world, they must first have something to give, and that something is created only in the silent workshop of their own company. 4. A shift from idealism to pragmatic vision. The young INFJ is the ultimate idealist. They have a perfect, beautiful vision of how the world should be, how people should act. This often leads to devastating disappointment, cynicism, and those classic INFJ door slams when reality fails to meet their impeccable standards. The awakened Sigma hasn't lost their vision. Oh no, it's still there, perhaps even grander. The switch is in their approach. They trade naive idealism for a powerful, grounded pragmatism. They understand that you can't build a castle in the sky. You have to lay brick by laborious brick on the solid ground of reality. They start to play the long game, accepting tiny, incremental wins instead of holding out for a revolution. They become strategic, understanding human nature, self-interest, ego, fear, not as things to bemoan, but as factors to be calculated into their plans. They haven't given up on changing the world. They've just become infinitely more effective in how they attempt to do it. 5. The emergence of a quiet, unshakable authority. INFJs often have a strange relationship with authority. They naturally lead through inspiration and insight, but they can be uncomfortable with traditional, hierarchical power structures. They might shrink from the spotlight or downplay their own intelligence to make others comfortable. When the Sigma side kicks in, that discomfort evaporates. A natural, quiet authority emerges that doesn't need a title or a corner office. It radiates from them. People instinctively lean in when they talk. Their words, though often few, carry weight. They stop seeking permission and start making declarations. They trust their NIT, introverted intuition, introverted thinking, loop, their internal processing system, implicitly. The conclusions they reach in their strategic solitude are presented not as suggestions for debate, but as the refined results of a process others simply weren't privy to. It's not arrogance. It's the calm confidence that comes from knowing you've done the deep work and arrived at a truth that is rock solid. 6. Relationships become curated, not collected. An unawakened INFJ often has a small circle, but there can still be a sense of obligation, of maintaining connections that drain them due to history or guilt. They might hold on to friendships that have long since run their course, sacrificing their energy on the altar of loyalty. The Sigma INFJ becomes a master curator of their inner circle. They approach relationships with a discerning, almost minimalist eye. Every person in their life is there for a specific, valued reason. They ask not, who wants to be in my life, but who deserves to be in my life. Energy vampires, chronic complainers, and superficial connections are identified and removed with a quiet, surgical precision that would make a neurosurgeon proud. Their time and emotional energy are their most precious currencies, and they invest them only in relationships that offer mutual depth, growth, and respect. It's a move from quantity to breathtaking quality. 7. Action replaces absorption. It's a classic INFJ trap. To observe, to analyze, to understand the complexities of a problem from every conceivable angle, and then to become so overwhelmed by the interconnectedness of it all that they fall into a state of paralysis. They absorb the world's problems and feel the weight of them crush their ability to act. The Sigma flip changes the game from spectator to player. This INFJ develops a powerful bias for action. They understand that an imperfect step forward is worth more than 1,000 hours of perfect contemplation. That, and I say, introverted intuition extrovert sensing gap gets bridged. Their profound insights demand tangible expression in the real world. They start writing the book instead of just dreaming about it. They launch the project, make the move, have the difficult conversation. They use their say not for impulsive pleasure, but as a tool to ground their visions into reality. They build, they create, they do. The cycle of overthinking is broken by the sheer force of movement. 8. a detachment from external labels and expectations. Before the awakening, many INFJs are painfully aware of the personality type descriptions, the stereotypes, the horoscopes for introverts. They might even try to conform to them, looking for a box to fit into because it's comforting to have an identity, even one that feels a bit restrictive. The Sigma INFJ smashes the box. They couldn't care less about labels. Being an INFJ or a Sigma or anything else becomes merely a useful map, not the territory. They outgrow the need for any external system to define them. They actively rebel against the expectations of family, society, and even the online personality community. Their identity becomes self-defined, fluid, and incredibly difficult to pin down. They are simply themselves, a unique, ever-evolving entity that refuses to be categorized for the convenience of others. This detachment is freedom. 9. The development of a psychological immune system. Criticism, especially of the personal or unfair kind, can absolutely wreck a developing INFJ. They take it to heart, ruminating for days, turning it over and over, trying to find the kernel of truth they can use to improve themselves. It's a noble aim, but leaves them incredibly vulnerable. The awakened Sigma builds a formidable psychological immune system. They learn to differentiate between constructive feedback, which they still value highly, and mere noise, projection, jealousy, or plain old ignorance. The noise simply doesn't stick anymore. It's like they've developed Teflon coating for their psyche. They can hear a harsh word, analyze it with their T for a nanosecond, identify its source, and dismiss it without it ever touching their core self. This isn't about having a big ego. It's about having such a solid, well-defined sense of self that external attacks simply find no purchase. They know who they are, and your uninformed opinion doesn't change that. 10. The embrace of enigmatic ambiguity. Finally, the Sigma-awakened INFJ learns to love the mystery, both in the world and within themselves. They stop trying to have a fixed, solid answer for everything. They become comfortable with paradox, with unanswered questions, with the beautiful, frustrating ambiguity of human existence. They understand that not everything needs to be resolved, not every thread needs to be tied up. This allows them to be truly present in the moment, say, without constantly trying to deconstruct it into 1,000 intuitive pieces. They can enjoy a sunset without needing to understand the physics of light. They can appreciate a piece of music without analyzing its emotional impact on their soul. They become more playful, more spontaneous, and yes, more mysterious because they themselves are no longer trying to solve the puzzle of their own being. They are simply enjoying the experience of it. Conclusion. So, what really flips the switch for an INFJ? It's the culmination of 1,000 quiet betrayals, both by the world and by their own outdated expectations. It's the pain of being the eternal giver in a world of takers. It's the exhaustion of feeling everything so deeply without a filter. But this awakening, this emergence of the Sigma, isn't a dark turn. It's not about becoming cold or uncaring. Quite the opposite. It's an evolution toward wholeness. It's the integration of the shadow self. The parts of you that are strategic, independent, self-contained, and discerning. It's about building an inner fortress so strong that you can open the gates without fear because you know you can protect what's inside. You learn to offer your profound gifts not from a place of depletion and desperation, but from a bottomless well of self-generated strength. You love more wisely, you give more effectively, and you move through the world not as a reactive empath, but as a conscious, powerful architect of your own reality. This Sigma side wasn't something you adopted. It was always there, sleeping. And the switch wasn't flipped by some external event. You flipped it. You chose you. And in doing so, you didn't lose your INFJ heart. You finally gave it the armor it needed to truly change the world.